Hey, this is Mark watching MTC Media here. Want to talk a little bit about Georgetown this morning. Anytime there's Georgetown in the news, um, I love to come on here. You guys know this is probably the team I cover the most. I don't think it's probably it is the team that I cover the most. And they were in the news recently, obviously, because of the exhibition with Kentucky down there in Lexington. They will play an exhibition game against Kentucky on October 30th. And part of the reason why I think this is significant is if you go back to Ed Cooley's initial press conference when he got the job. And I know there's going to be certain people, some Georgetown fans, some Georgetown media, that's not going to want to hear this. But never forget, Cooley said the schedule is going to reflect where the program is. And what I think you're seeing in Georgetown in year 3 is there are things that you're starting to see is starting to move. Georgetown is starting to contend and beat teams that, frankly, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that they didn't. And I know people want Georgetown to have Duke's schedule or non-conference schedule, but it doesn't make sense. And that's not just to continue to defend Cooley in the program, but it doesn't make sense. If you give Georgetown Duke's schedule with where they are in the process, it's you're setting yourself up to fail. That doesn't mean that you schedule a whole bunch of games against, St. Leo's of Mars. I mean, that's the flip side. You don't do that either, but you also don't have the schedule that Duke has. So again, and I hate to keep reminding people of this, remember the situation and everything that Cooley inherited before you go. It's not necessarily the quickest of fix. So I do like the idea that the schedule is starting to kind of wind its way up in incremental steps, in logical steps, especially when you consider you're still trying to build a program. Georgetown has a whole host of new players. You're going to have 6 players out the portal, and frankly, at least 4 players who played little to none last season. Big Julius hardly played because he ended up getting hurt. Kayvon was up and down. He had injury problems, and Jaden Fort and Seal were both redshirted. So again, I know everybody wants it to move faster, but there is a process, and having seen these guys, and I can't wait to see these guys this summer. Having seen these guys, I know there is some potential there, especially with Big Seal. There's some potential there, and so if you're a Georgetown fan, you should be excited. But the other thing I wanted to address outside the schedule is shooting. I had a couple conversations yesterday. Saw some stuff on social media. The concern of Georgetown shooting, that they didn't bring in anyone that has, historically speaking, above average or average 3-point shooting numbers. And I will say this, and this should be a history lesson in short history. When Michael Peavy came here from TCU, look what his numbers were. Look what his opportunities were at TCU under Jamie Dixon. It's easy to forget that now because Michael Peavy was so good here at Georgetown. But the questions were there. I will remind people all the time that you have to watch college basketball in a myriad of conferences. You have to watch college basketball and not just the top 10. For much of college basketball, and it's one of the many differences between college basketball and the NBA. College basketball, you just have to make enough threes. You don't have to even be a particularly good 3-point shooting team. You have to make enough threes to get teams from zoning you, even though you're not, you don't see a whole bunch of zone. What teams will do is they'll sag. You'll go man, but you'll sag man. You'll use it to help. You'll use it to clog up the lane and to wall up and to do all of those things. But there are ways to make the prerequisite amount of threes to impact winning at St. John's. St. John's was not a great three-point shooting team. They weren't even a great shooting team. Come on. They weren't. And all I did whenever I went to social media during the season was read how great Rick Pitino was. Oh, man, you see what Rick Pitino's done? Okay, that's fine. He got a lot of wins. They couldn't shoot. But then when I come here with Georgetown and Ed Cooley and everybody is screaming and yelling about the numbers, there was a team in the conference that did plenty of winning that if you looked at their numbers coming in, it wasn't anything that jumped off the page either. And throughout the season, people said, St. John's can't shoot the ball. They can't shoot the ball. So, again, maybe it's because I've seen this staff at work. There are ways to get around it. Defensively, I think Georgetown will be even better this season, even though they lose Peavy, even though they lose Sorber. I think defensively, if they can get the bigs to be in position, okay? Positionally be where you're supposed to be. You know, no one expects for them to come in there and be, you know, Navy's David Robinson or anything like that, but positionally be in the right place. And if you can do that and you get good on-ball defense from KJ Lewis, you get good on-ball defense from Langston Love, you get good all-ball defense from Deshaun Harris-Smith, you get good on-ball defense from Isaiah Abraham. Because for those guys, some of those guys, that's their calling card. So now you shorten possessions up. Now you're playing more in transition. Now you're playing more in secondary transition. Now you're playing more of that way. And it's not going to be a three-point barrage. Look, some teams, they can just shoot you out the gym with threes. And that's fine. If that's what your roster looks like. If that's not what your roster looks like, or that's not what your coach's philosophy looks like, that's fine. One of the great things I always loved about baseball in the 80s was it was just so many teams that played so many different ways. And baseball is somewhat going back to that. And be honest with you, if you watch the NBA every night, you'll see that there are more different styles in the NBA than people give it credit for. People just think, oh, you go out there and shoot 53s. It's not. It's not what it is. If you watch it every night and you're not just watching, you know, the same four teams, you'll see the NBA plays different depending on the team. Well, it's the same thing here. Georgetown, with their philosophy, with their coaching staff, with their core values on the floor, they can win in their particular way. No difference in St. John's won in their particular way, which is different than the way that Houston won, which is different than the way that Florida wins, which is different than the way that Creighton wins, different in the way that Duke wins. It's okay. So yes, I know what the numbers say. And, you know, I've tried to dive as much into the numbers during this offseason with Georgetown and several other teams. There's only so many hours in a day. But I am withholding my concern yet. Because a lot of the narrative that's being said right now is the same narrative that was said going into last season. Because people got obsessed with the numbers and didn't understand there is a coaching aspect to it. There is a schematic aspect to it. There is a philosophy aspect to it that maybe makes it easier. And get this. I know it's hard to believe. Kids can get better at certain things. Kids can get better at certain things because maybe it's taught a different way at this place and the last place. Maybe the rope that you're given at this place is different than the rope that you're given at your former place. So you feel more relaxed. You play more free. And your numbers start to rise because you're not saying, oh my gosh, if I miss this shot or if I miss these first two shots or if I miss this particular assignment, I'm on the bench for the next 7 minutes, 8 minutes. So you know what? I'm not even going to do anything. I'm just going to do exactly what I think I should do. And then you play tight, you don't make an impact on the game. Well, maybe you come here like Micah Peavy, and now all of a sudden, coach is saying, yo, man, that's the last spot. At this spot, this is what we want you to do. Don't worry about it, brother. I'm behind you. And then what did you get? You got a completely different guy than what you saw at TCU. He probably had it in him at TCU, but just wasn't given the wherewithal to be able to do it. So remember that too. Guys, it is only May. The way these kids look right now and the way these kids will look in October will be completely different. So let's relax. We got a long summer ahead of us. And as always, I'm going to try to be with you all summer when it comes to Georgetown basketball. It's Marcus Washington, MTC Media.